morning, campers, and welcome to the one, the only, the original Midnight's Edge of the Morning. I'm Tom Connors. We have a hell of a show today. We've got Tom Konkle with us. Andre's here as well. Boy, I hate to be Kathleen Kennedy.
The expression is, when it rains, it pours.
Yeah, but we'll get into that. We'll get into the Disney bit of business. We have Tom Konkle with us today. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm always glad to be on the channel. Andre, Tom, you're two of my favorite people, and I love our audience. I love interacting, so I'm looking forward to talking about whatever you want to talk about in this crazy business.
Well, it feels like we're in the middle of like a calm before the storm in a way, but at the same time, this book drops on top of everything else, and kind of everybody's attention goes to that. But there's a few things going on out there in the entertainment world. We'll talk a little bit about that and a few other things.
Sure.
But good morning, and hopefully you're doing well and you've been keeping yourself busy.
I have. I'm in the middle of writing something. It's for a client. It's a paid, script that I've been writing, but I'm hoping to have a draft out that everybody can read by this weekend. And then had some auditions and things, and still trying to do a money raise on stuff like Meth Gator, which is my Coen Brothers style Jaws film, and some other movies that I'd like to get going in the new year. I'm keeping my eye out because real quickly I'll say IATSE, which is the union for grips, gaffers, and things. They're thinking about calling a strike. It would be the first strike they've ever done since World War II. And that's looking at a lot of the costs and things that financial penalties. They haven't gotten paid for meals, and they want health benefits, and they've been working very long hours. So I want to send out my support to them, but also a caution that should they go with a nationwide strike, wow, all production will end yet again. So it's another blow to TV schedules and movie schedules. So we keep an eye on that strike, and certainly support the guys that are out there trying to get at least reasonable wages, and also looking at not having to work 20 hours a day.
Well, actually, we'll probably get into that a little bit. So we may even get into a few more of the details, because that kind of goes with what Chapek was talking about yesterday a little bit, but we'll definitely get into that a little bit.
Absolutely.
More. But Andre, how are you doing this morning? Hopefully you're feeling much better than you have been.
I am. I'm much better, as you can tell from my voice. I no longer have like that really congested sound, like a little bit there, but getting there. So we'll see how many bursts of cough I run into over the course of today.
All right. Well,
Peter, I hope you feel better, Andre.
Oh yeah. I've been feeling pretty good the whole time. And just so everyone, in case anyone wonders, no, it isn't a beer bug. It's just this ordinary fall infection that you happen to be exposed to when you have kids in kindergarten age. That's all there is to it. So there's no more drama associated with that. But your voice can go for a few days.
But
especially when you have kids.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, we have some people in the chat who need some hellos, like Peter Quincy Taggart. Hello there. Says hello. It's $4.99. Doesn't say anything, but we're just going to say he says hello. How about that?
That's right.
We also have the one, the only. Andre, please do the honors.
No, we have and also sent us the first super chat of the day.
I figured as much.
Yes.
A diamond sticker?
Yes, that is indeed correct. A diamond sticker plus hi, gents. Hello, everyone.
Yes. We also have Lindsay here with a wrench. We have Jason Gray here. We have Mecha J. Jesse's hanging out on his break. Film Lars is here. There's somebody I haven't seen in a while. We got Corian Witch Residence. How you doing? We got Tekkamin Blade. Welcome to the show, guys. Cosmic Squirrels here. Ram Bam 3000 here. SEM guy, Fat Elvis is here, not just regular Elvis, but Fat Elvis. It says Marsha.
Yeah, also the most epic Elvis in some sense.
Yes.
We got Dr. Long Dongler here. We got Dragon Master here. We got Shrap 3D. We have so many people here joining us this morning. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. And of course, our wrenches for helping us out this morning. So yeah, the news has kind of been, it feels like it's kind of been at a bit of a quiet calm until all of a sudden this book came out.
Yeah,
I mean,
It's been fairly quiet, and on that, before we get into the book with all the Star Wars news and everything like that, and here get Mr. Konkle's take on it. Everyone, smash that like, help share the stream.
And Crass Socks also says hail and sends us $4.99. Thank you for that. And Rob Altus says he's working and lurking. Well, hey, as long as you're doing something, man, that's all that counts.
Exactly.
But yeah, other than that,
our ever loyal wrench also points out the link to Mr. Konkle's YouTube channel.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Do check that out.
The other news, though, that was they had the quarterly, what do you call it, meeting or whatever for Disney yesterday or day before.
Investor meeting.
The investor meeting.
The investor meeting. And yeah, things aren't looking the greatest over there, Andre, are they?
No, they are not. Quite the contrary. Because he didn't go into any details about how bad things are. But what he said in not so many words was, if you expect things to get better anytime soon here, you may want to adjust those expectations, because reality check, and again, this is not his exact words, just paraphrasing here, but reality check subscriptions to Disney Plus are slowing down dramatically, which means that it has started to it's basically kind of like hit its peak, and it's still going to be more subscribers, hopefully, unless the churn is going to be bigger, so more people start leaving than coming in. But in some sense, Disney Plus has hit as high as it can go. And from here on out, it's going to cost much more for each additional new subscriber. That's what he's saying.
That's true, and it's really plateauing is what's happening. Is hello to everybody in the chat, by the way. Thanks for the shout out. With Disney Plus, the danger was always feeding the machine, because the existing stuff that they have, people, as you said, they churn through or binge through it really quickly, and we haven't seen a lot of variety and variation on Disney Plus that's really caught fire. And there's been a huge pause in things like Mandalorian and things that were successful. That's the danger of a single point distribution system that is fed by one company that, they use a lot of different companies that produce these things for them, but it really is one tent. And you're going to see it slow down, because ask yourself this question: how many shows are coming up that you really want to see, and what shows are you watching right now? If that answer is, well, not much, well, that's why it's slowed down. There's really no compelling argument to add a whole bunch of people, because there isn't any excitement swirling around it right now.
Well, I think they've hit that ceiling. I think you guys are right. I think they've hit that limit. I think anybody who's going to subscribe to this probably really has already. Outside of any other regions that Disney Plus is going to open, I think they've hit that point where you're not going to gain any major new lump of subscribers at this point, right? And I think that's another reason why they've kind of hit this wall of, well, what the fuck do we do? Shang-Chi is what it is, but Black Widow clearly didn't make its money back, probably. I don't think Shang-Chi is going to. They're not doing the $30 subscription anymore, and I at least think I have a good reason why they quit doing that, other than the obvious, but that is just because they didn't make any money on it. They did, but they didn't make enough. And what they did was they killed the ancillary sales. I see Black Widow is out in stores. Now, again, I'm just going by the few places I've saw. It didn't seem like it was selling very good outside of the steel books at Best Buy. That was the only place I saw where there was any that seemed like there was any like dent in the stock.
Yeah, I see them stacked up at the grocery store. They've got the kind of the red box for the Blu-ray or whatever. It's unfortunate.
I saw the same thing with Troll. Remember the Troll movie that came out last year that Universal threw out right away, and they had a whole wall of them at Walmart, and it didn't seem like one of them moved. So I think that's where they killed themselves. They realized, oh shit, nobody's gonna buy the video now. What do you think, Andre?
Probably because it's completely new and untested ground, and in retrospect, here's like the thing that one has to keep in mind in defense of all these studios that looks like between them they're just throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. in retrospect, it's going to be obvious to see, oh, well, when you do it this way, then that happens. When you do it this way, then that happens. But when you are there and you're trying to figure this out, when you suddenly have a million new variables that you didn't have to deal with, well, a million, you have 10 new variables that you didn't have to deal with before, but you don't know exactly how those 10 variables are going to mesh with each other and how that is going to affect digital sales, physical media sales, theatrical sales. They just don't know. That book is being written. It will be 2020 hindsight. It will be obvious, but not as they try to discover it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what we've been seeing. They've been trying different things. Bob Chapek was really honest when he referred to Shang-Chi as an experiment in terms of theatrical distribution strategy, because they just have to like test and see how the market responds.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, it's very easy to say, like, for instance, oh, they should have put Kong versus Godzilla in theaters. Would have made $1 billion. And yeah, we know that in retrospect. They didn't know that in advance.
Yeah, that's true.
They knew that after the fact. And it's like the same thing with everything with like 45 degrees exclusive and killing the ancillary markets. That's like a possibility, but they don't actually know what's going to happen. So I think we have to have like some understanding of that. They're really trying their best here to walk a thin line between all of the deals that they have that they can't walk out on and those that they can walk out on, and at the same time try to act in a way as to salvage as much as possible of their investment. I'm indeed talking about salvaging their investment, because actually making money on it, for the most part, for many of these things, is simply off the table.
Yeah. Well, they're also renegotiating all the talent agreements at the moment, too, so they don't know what their outflow of cash is going to be or how they're going to have to pay people over time. And remember, you started a business during the most exceptionally strange period of time, during the problems last year. You're launching and starting these businesses, so the model that those exist in creates a kind of unrealistic expectation, because, well, everybody was home, nobody was working, everybody was looking. So of course you're like, wow, look at our numbers, look how many people are streaming. But the minute people get back to their lives, you're going to see that drop off. So that really was a false indicator of the business. It was in an environment that was rich with a lot of exceptional things.
That's a great point, and we'll get back to the actor salaries and all that kind of stuff a little bit here, because that's another bit of the story here. But no, I think that's the main point is you had a captive audience for almost a year.
Yep.
And that's why I feel like they've hit the ceiling on this. There's no farther to go. Nobody else wants it. And I highly doubt that you're going to come up with anything new that you haven't already that's going to get anybody else's butts to watch Disney Plus, right? Black Widow was it. That was your last gasp. Because Star Wars, The Mandalorian had already topped out. And, you know, you're not bringing out another Star Wars movie anytime soon, so that's not going to bring anybody in. And when you've lost all your main Marvel people, and Black Widow's pretty much your A-lister you have left besides Spider-Man, who's over at Sony, and that barely managed to do what it did, I think it's pretty obvious here. They're in a really shitty position until they get and that's hoping the X-Men does something, right? What else have they got at this point?
Well, they don't even have the X-Men, because Victoria Alonso, who was recently promoted, thinks the X-Men is an outdated title.
Excuse me,
men are problematic.
Can I do it? Can I please do it?
Go for it.
Because I told people for how long now that sooner or later they're going to say X-Men is problematic, and I've heard rumors that they're going to try and start referring to them as the mutants. Did I not?
You did.
I fucking knew it.
I told y'all, because I heard this rumblings a while back, and when this lady got her promotion, that's the first thing I thought of.
Yeah. Which is very funny that that's somehow her focus, or she has an opinion on that. It's like, that's arranging deck chairs on the Titanic.
Well,
Exactly.
it could be that that's just a virtue signal. That could
Yeah.
have been one of the things that got her promoted.
Yeah.
The brand name is still the X-Men.
For now.
So honestly, for now, but still, I don't think that they are stupid enough that they would change it to the mutants when the brand is the X-Men.
Yeah.
They may think it problematic, but I do think that there's still going to be some cooler heads there that will ultimately prevail and say, look, this is the brand identity.
That,
yeah,
have,
that's true.
You have the X
X-Men
Factor,
forever.
you have, the other X names.
You have that.
X-Force and whatnot.
Yeah. No, it's the X-Men. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I agree with you guys, but I've been telling people this is not above the realm of possibility, especially now that it's at Disney.
Yeah.
And if they want to
sure.
differentiate themselves from the other X-Men, that's one way of doing it.
Yeah.
So don't be surprised.
Men bad. Yeah.
And they sure as hell ain't going to call it the X folks.
X people.
They might call it the Latinx men, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's sad. I think the pop culture is hostile to men, and it's going to continue for a while. I can't wait for that pendulum to swing the other way.
Well, and this is something I want to get to, Tom, because Bob did mention. I don't know if I can bring up the thing here right away. They're resetting.
Of course they are.
Their talent deals.
Yes.
And I think it's funny that they're using the words like reset and new deal, because those are other words that we've heard other places before. Now I'm going to get into the political parts of these, but there's a bit of this story that I find is kind of ironic, and I get a little schadenfreude out of it. But the other side of it is I know where we're going to get into what you were just talking about before, and that is, this reset and how they're going to restructure how movies are made and how much they spend on them. Finally, some of these big, movie stars are going to start to feel what it's like to not have all the monies. But the people that I think it's going to affect down the long run are the people that you're talking about, Tom, that are talking about going on strike.
That's right.
The other actors who don't make, multi-million-dollar deals from every movie. As Script and I had talked about last night and reminded people, most actors, like 90% of actors, don't make that much, right? Like
they're lower middle class.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and I think this is where the best time for you to kind of bring up what you were talking about before the show about the strike and what's going on there and what that's all about. And I wonder if a lot of these kind of movements and changes are a cause of that.
Well, there's, it's easy to point at the few stars that movies are often built around, are the ones that really are the reason that a film gets made, and get mad because, they're multimillionaires. Look at all their money. What do they care about? But here's the thing. There wouldn't be a movie without them. There would not be a industry built around them. When you're working on a Tom Cruise film, as he said in his rant, I'm making this movie and you're buying a house with it, you're paying for your kids' college with it, that he is the business. And someone like Scarlett, think of all the people she's employed under her. We can't just sort of shake our fist at the rich all the time and just go, oh, look at all the money she has. There wouldn't be a movie, there wouldn't be grips, there wouldn't be all these things without someone that someone wants to go see. And I think we need to find a balance rather than what Disney is talking about, which is continuous, unlimited growth. We need to start looking at also sustainability in the business, that if it tops out at 106 million viewers, how do you make that work? That you do quality work, you keep people employed, artists employed, creating things, and not have to worry about, but we need that extra 20 million. We need to make another billion and another billion. Because when you get focused on that, then you get a huge disparity between the haves and haves not. And what IATSE is doing with their strike is just simply saying, we need minimum pay rate increases. You've got all these streamers now that are pumping stuff out on these lower budgets, but they work them, 18, 19 hours a day. They're not making health plan contributions, pension contributions. The strike, they haven't had a strike since World War II. Literally, there has not been a Hollywood crew strike It was called Hollywood's, I think it was Hollywood's Bloody Friday is what it was called. They're calling for a vote right now. It requires, I think, 75% to do, but they are asking for very reasonable things. It's one of these where when the people they work for, like the large companies, cry poverty, like, oh, look, we only made 20 billion last year. It's down 1 billion. How are we going to survive? People like that, who are middle class, upper middle class, working as a crew, they need to share in love too. And if they do walk out, it's going to be devastating for us as people that enjoy watching TV shows and movies and things, but it's going to have some impact or a strike won't be effective. So my feeling is it needs to be a little more, I guess more parity when you're looking at a streaming focused business, because we're not looking at blockbusters as much anymore. Films come out and go big. They're certainly not profit sharing with the crew. So when you have a big star who's saying, look, I'm putting eyeballs in your streaming service, that's worth something. They can't say, oh, we don't know. It's a Wild West. It's streaming. We can't tell. We've proven that it works. When Chapek does one of these, symposiums and talks to his investors, say, look how great we're doing. You can't turn around and go, but we don't know what we're making. We don't have any money. We can't pay you. And so I think this is going to be it's a tumultuous time, but it's going to be a reckoning with contracts with people that make the movies. And
do you think this is going to make them start to be a little bit more transparent with numbers? Because here's where I think, like, you say, like, where's the money? Well, that's the thing, is you're going to have to say, well, those who have had hits, because where I'm coming from is like, okay, the way the television model used to work, you put out a show, you have your first or 2-3 year contracts, and then if a show's a hit, then that's where the stars and all the people involved, that's when they get their paydays, right? Like,
right,
they get to come back to the negotiating table and go, oh, okay, now we get to talk,
right?
So you hope, and the hope is there between the crew and the people involved, is that you make a hit show so that it can keep going. And then there's the incentive, because then you're selling more advertising dollars, and that's why the cast of Friends got the $1 million paydays at the end,
right.
And the Simpson actors get their big paydays at the end, and
all
that kind of stuff. So that's the thing is with streaming, though, it's all content. Nothing is more important than the next thing.
Exactly.
So
it's that egalitarian. There's not one thing's better than another, and it's the worst thing, which is, in the old days, you had a movie come out, and then the other bombs would be covered by the profits of that movie. They would kind of spread it out. Well, now you've got something like you said that's perfectly well said. Everything is content. Everything's the widget. And the problem is now they can just throw their hands up and go, well, we don't know, we're going to cancel that one and we'll move this one around. And it's like, well, okay, then you can't do, there's a natural, I know it's a human tendency, but it's also a business as an organism tendency, which is, it's a big hit the first year, the second year. Can we get as much work for less? Can we increase our margin by paying everyone a little less, by offering a little less, but still expecting the same amount of work? And it keeps sliding and sliding and sliding until you turn around and you go, wait a second, 2 years ago, you were willing to pay me this. Now you're crying poverty because we're 3 years in, and you're like, yeah, we got to tighten up and we got to cut it. And it's like, so someone's lining their pocket on it. So people, average Joes, men and women that are out there putting the cable down and putting the lights on the actor, they're going, can we have a rest period? Can we raise our wages? Could we get some residuals from the streaming that you say you're making $20 billion on? Because I'm working for peanuts. And could you contribute to a health and pension plan so I can stay healthy? I mean, when you put it in those kind of terms, you go, well, yes, you can't continually increase your margin. Well, it's like, well, I want to make more money on the third year, but I don't want to pay anymore. So that means my cash flow gets less and less and less. And I say, I'm sorry, I don't have any money. There has to be a rethinking of sustainability in this business. For me, when I make a movie, the first thing I'm thinking is, how do I have all boats rise? Like, is there a way, if I get my business model to go, that everyone materially participates? Everybody down to the grip. It's like, hey, I did a movie for Tom. I worked at this rate, but if it does well, I get this little extra thing. I get a little bonus. I'm invested in the whole thing. That's what everyone's saying right now. Businesses are kind of going, nobody really knows how this works. So this is great. I wonder how much money we can can make and not have to give it. So like you say, I want it to be more transparent, but also they can't keep saying Wild West for 10 years.
Right.
And then everybody else goes, wait a second, if this didn't work, why do you keep making movies and TV shows if you never make any money?
Well, and Andre, I guess that's my question to you then, is you think that's what's kind of going to happen here? Is they have to be more transparent, and they have to say, well, this is an actual hit, this isn't a hit, and they have to kind of be able to validate, like, because I think Tom's right. They can't consistently just go, well, we don't know, and there's just no money in it. Because I mean, a grand example is look at Star Trek Discovery, how, they spent bunches and bunches on the first 2 seasons, and then we saw the difference on that 3rd season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think that it's very much because you no longer have like the massive blockbusters. Everything is just content. It's all part of the content package. And because of that, now you are suddenly in a position where you really have to trim the margins, because you no longer have like a tentpole that's going to give hundreds of millions in pure profits. And by pure profits, I mean like actual profits that they can take out and enjoy on paper. On paper, there's lots of shifting around from one shell to another shell, so it looks like there's no profit, but really it's just like money being shifted around. Of course, there's loads of profit. There's loads of skimming off the top there through various means, and I don't think that you can do that anymore. I think they're going to have to be more transparent. Like, I wouldn't expect like full transparency or anything like that. If anything, I think they're going to be even more devious in how they decide to skim off the top.
No, I think you're right.
But I don't think that they can do it in the same extravagant ways that they have before.
No, I think you're right.
Days are over.
Agreed.
I think the problem here is you have being on a streaming service makes it a lot easier to hide, right, compared to being on television.
Yeah, it does. But the problem is that you no longer have that huge overflow.
No.
You no longer have like that massive money that you could really do to fund everything. Now it's going to, like, really the only thing that comes right now is like the proceeds that comes from the subscribers. That's where the money is.
Yeah.
So every production gets typically like a fixed fee. This is what you get for making. Tom, you're gonna have to correct me here, but I would imagine that how it's going to be is that every kind of content producer, they sell their wares to Netflix or to whoever at a fixed price.
Yep.
And then how that performs, the risk then is on the provider, and they just have to hope that the total mix of content is one that's going to cost less to make than they earn from their subscribers. And really, that's the overhead. That's the money that they're going to take away from it. And everything else at every other level, it's basically the various production fees that they have to go on. I think it's going to be much more transparent that, look, this is the total amount of money that is disposable for this production. And there's going to be more transparency about that. And then, of course, there's like some room of like shifting and trying to hide away stuff like that, but it's not going to be as easy as it was. So those that were really, really taking the most before, I'm sure they still will take most, but there's going to be significantly less of it than before.
Yeah, I think you're right. Go ahead, Tom.
No, and I can't remember if it was you, Tom, that said this, or if it was Gary Tunnicliffe, but you were worried about how you or Gary was worried about how a movie was going to be perceived, and somebody just kind of piped up and told them, "Oh, it's just got to be as good as Titanic." And then panic set in, and they're like, "What?" And you're like, "Yeah, it's just got to be as good as Titanic or Avengers, because you're
swinging for the fence. Yeah,
you're entertaining people for that amount of time. That's all people expect, is to be just as entertained. So it doesn't matter if you spend $10 or $10 million on a production, it's still got to do the same thing. And that's where shows like Cobra Kai, I think, soar, because the production costs are so low, but yet it's a huge hit. And we know that because it was able to shift from one place to another and we saw the change. Well, we're not going to be able to see that with every show, but now, like, granted, like a show like Star Trek Discovery, which you brought up, which costs almost as much as a movie production every single fucking episode.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so basically what you're seeing is all these little shows amortizing the cost of these bigger shows. But on the other side of it, well, where does the money come from? That's the thing. And that's where Andre and, we were just saying is they don't have that advertising dollar anymore. So they have to get the money up front. So that's where we saw like the Netflix deal for Discovery. So these things are kind of turning in on themselves. And, all these companies saw Netflix and what Netflix is doing. They're like, well, we can do that and we can make that kind of money. But they weren't thinking is that the amount of money that Netflix was spending on their own productions in comparison to what they were putting out to buy stuff. Like they were spending so much money on their productions, and they still are, to where they're basically living, hand to mouth over there. And nobody's really paying attention to that. And I don't understand why none of the studios thought about that for a moment and realized that that's the position we're going to find ourselves in, because it was easier to have Netflix have one big place where everybody goes and you have all that big pool of money to spend on all this stuff, right? And that's what these studios don't have when you don't have the money coming in from the theaters. If you're doing it all in one concentrated place and you set yourself this finite ceiling, it doesn't matter how many subscribers you have at that point.
It's a great
Because
point.
you only have a set amount of money that's coming in every month.
Yeah, it's a fixed thing, and it doesn't vary on the quality. It doesn't vary on anything because they're going to either be subscribed or not subscribed. It doesn't matter whether it's a hit show on there or they're just sitting on it and forgot they subscribed. And you're right. All great points. A streaming, one of the giants like Netflix in the last decade, they borrowed $16 billion.
Yeah.
And they treated the big films like loss leaders. And by loss leaders, I mean, it's like, we just know it's not going to make the money that it costs to make it, but we're hoping that people will watch. But then you get a movie like Bright with Will Smith, which is no great film, but they spend $100 million on it. And then all the little Cobra Kai type shows, those fill in, and those are made by people that care about the show and really want it well written and everything. And those are the little engines that turn out to be the ones that add subscribers or keep subscribers. And so they're like, well, what do we do? The loss leader blockbuster versus the pay nothing for the good stuff model cannot sustain, because a guy like me, I'm thinking about pitching something right now to one of the streamers, and they come back and they're like, we want something that's $5 to $7 million. That's it. We want $5 to $7 million, budget or whatever you have. And I'm like, okay, what do I have that I can do for $5 to $7 million? But here's the trick. If they don't make it, if it's not made in-house and I sell it to them, they license it for very little money, less than $5 to $7 million. And here's the trick. They get it for 2 or 3 years. They don't have to pay you for it until the end of the run. They don't pay you at the beginning of the run. So you have to float that money, and you sit on $3 million, hoping 3 years from now they pay you that $3 million. That's how they're trying to hang on to their money. The illusion is when it's like, hey, Tom got a movie on Netflix. That's great, and I'm glad a lot of people saw it, but I won't get paid for years. It's hard to have a production company when you have everything on and no one's paying.
Yeah, unless you sell it up front to them, you're not going to see
they'll never buy it up front. Exactly. That's the thing.
Right.
I've talked to their indie branch. They're like, no, we'll acquire it, and then at the end of the run, we'll pay you.
That's kind of what Amazon's been doing this whole time too. It sounds like.
Yep, it is. Yeah. And Amazon built their whole platform on people giving them movies.
Right. Well, I don't want to shift too much here, but let's see what the audience has to say, Andre. Do
Sure.
we have some super chats we can
go for it. Yeah, we do. So let's get into the super chats.
There's a few other
Hello, chat.
I want to touch on as well, but yeah.
Tom, can you do the ones that we can get up on screen?
I can. Let's see what we got here that we can grab. In the meantime, we got the Black Douglas, who sends in £5. Thank you so much. Says, does Event Horizon warrant a remake? Honestly,
it's getting a TV series, isn't it?
I think so. I was going to say, I think I heard something about that. I think it's
so.
Again,
Isn't
I'm
that
not
filming or something, or is
it
it?
might be,
I imagine so. Maybe it isn't. I don't know.
It's at least in pre-production. I know that, but no, like I'm not somebody who's against anything that's being remade. My problem is the time. This is not the time to be remaking stuff because everything gets ruined. But no, I think that's something that has potential that definitely could see a revival of some type.
Amazon's doing it.
Yeah, Amazon's doing
Amazon
it.
and Paramount Television. Yeah.
So keep an eye out for that. You never know
Who's involved with it?
Yeah, that's the question.
I believe it's Adam Wingard, Andre, the guy who did Godzilla versus Kong. I believe it's him.
So there you go.
A movie I was not a huge fan of.
Yeah, I don't see him having. Yeah, he tends to be interested in some horror, but I haven't seen anything really distinctive. So yeah, we'll see.
Well, you will see. What else?
Yeah,
we got?
but in
That's all I can bring
general,
up.
though, I would say that Event Horizon is something I think is a really tremendously exciting concept, and the concept deserves better than the cut of the movie that we got that is out there.
Agreed.
Just for that reason, I would welcome a TV adaptation of it.
Why is it
Because like some movies have been really, really well served by TV adaptations, and I believe this is one that absolutely has the potential to be excellent.
That's true, because the whole idea of that experimental gravity drive going through the an artificial black hole, you have that all that world building of what can happen in that universe. You send in another rescue team. We discover more about that. It could be just like a hellish universe that they create. That could
exactly,
be
and you can bring in some. You can bring in some metaphysics. Like, what if they went into like a realm of a higher dimension or something? That they went into the realm of actual demons and stuff. I mean,
would be fantastic.
Yeah. There's so much you can do with it. I mean, the concept. Sometimes a concept deserves more than the adaptation or a movie that it has right now. My famous go-to example there is like that elevator that goes straight through the earth from the Total Recall remake. I mean, just like that plot device right there is so much better than the remake deserves. I mean, do a whole miniseries around that.
Yeah, you could imagine all the different things you could encounter, all the different things you could have that happen in that. Yeah, it's sometimes you see an idea and you're like, that is not a one film idea.
Yeah, technologically, we live in a time where anything can be made, but the problem is that the writers we have right now are not. They're either hamstrung by all the politics that are going on right now or whatever, but even before a lot of this stuff was creeping in, speaking of the Total Recall remake, we just had this, this new generation of writers and directors. They just don't get it. I don't think they don't.
Yeah, there is a problem. Yeah, I think I've noticed it too, because you'll see a writer's room where no one's a fan of either the genre or what they're doing, but also where the ideas are coming from, there tends to be upside down, where it's like, oh, Event Horizon, I can talk about gender politics. It's like, no, write a horror, write a metaphysical horror. Don't worry about that other stuff. Don't worry about what the crew looks like, or does it. Just write something good. That doesn't seem to come up a lot in writer rooms or with screenwriters. There's a strange upside down agenda, whereas before you'd be like, let's make a great film, and underneath it all you'll see, ooh, he was talking about these themes. Now you start with the themes and then try and figure out what movie already exists that you can plug it into, and that's not the way to create something. Or
like what we're seeing with the whole Star Wars thing, and like Marshall Lucas and others are saying about
it's like you just don't get it.
They just don't get it. Was like the number one thing kept saying.
Yeah, Marcia was ground zero. She was in the 70s. You and I were talking about this, Tom. In the 70s, she was the sounding board for Martin Scorsese on Taxi Driver and Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. She hung out with all the guys that became the 70s, sort of revolution of people. And with George, she had the power of no. She could say, no, it doesn't work. I love this thing, but I know we can make it better. She had a skill in editing, and she knew what he was going for. She had an innate, there's a good editor just has a feel. It's feel and music and tempo. It's everything. And somebody like Marcia going, you just don't get it. You have to listen to that person, because she was there at ground zero. And she knew what themes she needed to elevate. She knew how she cut that thing. She knew what George was doing. They were married. They talked probably for years about it. So when someone like her says, you know what, this is just tone deaf, they don't get it. it means that you've just failed on you can be a fan of something and not able to do it. You know, I used to do comedy with someone who loved Monty Python but wasn't funny. And I'm like, how can you love Monty Python and you're just not funny? Well, how can you love Star Wars but be someone like JJ who makes it look like it moves like that animal, it looks like that, but at the very core and the fundamentals, he's completely missed the point.
Exactly. And that's what all those quotes were basically, I think, getting to, and especially Marsha was like, you know, she was saying, like, I think she even understood Star Wars. No, I don't want to say she understood Star Wars better than George, but she was able to realize what he wanted to do with it better than he was able to do on his own.
I think that's a good way of putting it. That she saw a potential in execution that was greater than what he did. It was basically she was the Bill Finger to his Bob Kane.
And yes, and I will add this with anything creative, and I have this as well with people. Creativity and creating something really good is knowing what to leave out, not what to put in.
Well,
and what I mean by that, though, is you know, with a statue, what you chip away, what you take away from that piece of marble is what's left is the art. With her editing, knowing what to keep out, knowing how to reshuffle, how to repaste things, knowing what needs to be taken out of it is as important, if not more important, than what George put in it. And their symbiotic relationship of her being able to say that to him and create it with him, that's what made it better. I don't feel like there's these organic groups of people that have come together to create these things. I feel like it's like telephone. This is a generational thing where three people, 3 generations removed from whoever really created it and believed in it, kind of picks up the mantle and goes, well, I think this is what they meant, but my heart's not in it. And it would be better if you found either someone who really genuinely wanted to do something. Like, I remember when I moved out here, it's like I really wanted to do a Star Wars movie. Star Wars was the reason I moved to Los Angeles. I didn't get a chance to do it, but if someone like me got to do that, you would know the fundamentals of why it was good. You just be true to yourself, tell the story, and it works. Not just go, you know what, I'll just check off that box. Science fiction, check. Comedy, check. Because it means nothing to you. It's better to create something original than something you don't believe in.
Absolutely. And as Glasker Verlat says here with 1999, thank you so much, says she was able to clearly convey his vision. Yes, exactly. And I think that's what her and Kazajin and the others are getting at, is that they lost the kernel of the idea, which the kernel of the idea was that it was based on serials of the 1940s and stuff like that, right? So that's what Marsha, I think, brought to the table when she saw Star Wars. She saw it, she looked at it, she's like, yeah, it's just kind of flat. You need that excitement, you know, that moment of, you know, kind of that cheesy kind of like, you know, if we don't get this, you know, all that tension and stuff that's in all those serials in that third act, right?
Yes.
That sets you up for the next.
The cross-cutting.
Yeah,
exactly. And there was almost no moving tracking shots in the original Star Wars. They were all lockdown shots because you had visual effects in them, so you couldn't move the camera very much. So the way you create excitement and motion and movement is through cutting and through editing and cross-cutting and playing with time and creating that ticking clock. And she got it. And you know, George, to his credit, was wise enough to go, you know what, Marsha, you and the others, just go with it. Please do a cut. Right. And he knew it was good.
And what happened then, I think also is what happened is between the two is you had the soap opera element was exchanged for melodramatic bullshit, right? Like that's what we got out of the sequel trilogy. The soap opera was
a soap opera. Yeah.
The original is a soap opera. I mean, and that's why it was called a space opera to begin with. Like there's a reason for that. Like it has all those elements,
but it's operatic.
But it's made for 10-year-old boys instead of middle-aged housewives, right? Like, and that's
made for the kid in every one of us. It's made for it should tap into that thing that every culture, every society had their myths and they had their exciting heroes, and you got that rush and you learn something about life and you cheer at the end because good defeated evil. That's basic. It's primal. And Star Wars had it, which is why we're still talking about it. The new movies don't have it.
Yeah, and Kazajin also brought that point up. He said they didn't realize that at the time, but they did, that George had made a modern day fairy tale.
Yep.
Right. And I think that's the elements that they lost when they got to the sequel trilogy so much more was, I mean, it's still there a little bit in the prequels because George, I think, lost his way, and Marsha even brings that up a little bit. But I think that's where she should have been. There's somebody like her he needed.
Yes,
and that is, we've said that a million times over, is he needed somebody to rein him in. He needed somebody to say, no, you can't do that. No, that don't make sense. No, you're doing this too much. No, you're doing that too much. Because, you know, you see the progression of, I love that documentary of the beginning. It's on YouTube. Like Disney will not let you see it. George don't want you to see it because they've done everything they can to try and bring it back down, but it's out there. But the best part is in the last part of the documentary where they're watching the cut of the movie, and you see George go from excited to slumping in his chair, and everybody's face in the room just looking like, what the fuck are we going to do? And then
he knows,
and everybody's just dead silent. And he's like, we can't fix it now.
He knows, and he's only he's human, you know, and not everything's going to be a home run. And he knew, he even said, I think in the documentary footage that I saw, he's like, maybe I pushed things too far in the cross cutting, and maybe I lost my way here. And the problem is, he wasn't that young scrappy guy in the 70s with his buddies like Steven Spielberg and Scorsese, where he could invite him over to the living room and they go, this doesn't work, but let's try this and this and this, and they were all thing. Now he's in an ivory tower, isolated and surrounded by people who it's in their interest to say yes because they're getting paid.
Well, the tragedy is that is when he needs the naysayers more than ever.
You're right.
He never needed Marsha as much as he did then.
You're right.
The irony is that during the time of the originals, he probably didn't like the feedback that he got. He probably genuinely thought that he knew better.
Yes.
And now he was constantly bragging about this, that now I get to do the movies
exactly the way I want. Yeah.
Everybody tried to warn us about it.
I think that's actually the best part of Red Letter Media's breakdown of episode 1. Is that what we see then is that the original trilogy, it was never the brainchild of just George Lucas. It was a collaborative effort.
Yes.
And it could very well be that he might have fought against some of the things that made that movie a classic.
Oh,
it
absolutely.
Could be that those were like things that Marsha won that he never really liked, that he didn't want in the movie in the first place. And those are the reasons why it was a hit. And when he didn't have Marsha or someone else to keep him in check, then episode 1 is what you get.
Right. Well, if I may, I think what it boils down to for me, I've thought about this for a while, and George, his genius is he's a catalyst. And what I mean by a catalyst is when he first started, he surrounded himself with the right people. It was sort of birds of a feather. You get American Graffiti, then it flows into Star Wars, then Empire Strikes Back. He was the catalyst. He was catalytic in creating it, but also creating like-minded people with an incredible work ethic, from the guys who did the production design and Ralph McQuarrie to John Williams to all these things. He attracted that. He was an attractor and a catalyst for greatness. But when he became the solo visionary of it, he wasn't able to play to his greatest strength, which was being a catalyst and getting people who were equals, who could say no, who could do things with him. Look at what happened with Raiders. With Raiders, he was a catalyst because he's like, I want to do a James Bond. Steven, they said no to you, to an American directing one. I've got an idea. Then Steven runs with it, gets all the incredible people, the DP, the music, and brings in, John Williams and all these different people, and they create Raiders of the Lost Ark. Flash forward to them acting like employees of him, you get Crystal Skull, where it's like, I want to make another one. And it's like, well, we did. You literally, Steven's on camera going, well, I just did this for George.
Exactly.
Well, you know what that means? It means he wasn't invested in it. And George wasn't a catalyst for them to go, I want to make something great. George, at that case, was, well, George is my boss. He wants to do this. We'll just do it for him, whatever he wants.
It really
and there's
was.
A huge difference there, and it's a lesson for the next generation of people that want to be great storytellers or entrepreneurs or filmmakers. Surround yourself with like-minded people and be a catalyst for them to be vested in what you're doing, whatever you're doing. Building a car, making a song, creating a movie, have yourself be at the center of that, but that everybody is vested in doing their best work and they don't feel hard done by. They don't feel like their ideas aren't appreciated, but more importantly, they have the power of no, because the power of no is the thing that makes stuff good.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up that point, because I feel like that's one thing that us fans of Star Wars forget often, because we like to put George on a pedestal. And I've seen him in interviews where he's talked about it, and other people have brought this up too. About
I guess we used to before the prequels.
Yeah, and even Marsha, I think, has brought this up in either in this book or in other places, where it's like George didn't set out to be the guy who made Star Wars. That was never his goal. He wanted to make movies like THX 1138. Like, that's what he wanted to do.
Yeah,
he wanted to make tone poems, experimental stuff, short films. Like, he would have been at home. Like, if he would have never made Star Wars, I guarantee you he would have been the guy who revolutionized music videos on MTV. Like, that's the kind of stuff he would have liked to have done. You know, got himself into like the art scene more so. But then Star Wars happened because he got challenged by Coppola and his wife, because he damn near destroyed American Zoetrope with THX 1138, lost them their 3-picture deal with Warner Brothers. And in a fit of rage, Coppola's like, why can't you just make a normal movie that connects with people? You know, like, you know, why can't you just make a comedy or a family film or something like that?
Right.
And Marsha chimed in like, yeah, you're just too much of a dead fish. And George got all pissy, and he's like, look, I can make a movie that can get the audience to react. All you got to do is have somebody wring a kitten's neck on screen. And they're like, well, you can't seem to do it, George. And they're like, fuck you guys, I'll go do it. And he went and made American Graffiti. And in the process of that was also the germ of the idea for Star Wars, right?
Right.
And that's where those two movies came out of. They were never movies he intended to make. It was just because
it's organic.
Was challenged. You know, he was challenged to do something that was out of his norm. And because of that, we've got those movies. Because his whole idea was to make THX 1138, and then he wanted to go make Howard the fucking Duck. Like, he bought the rights to Howard the Duck back in the early 70s. Yeah. So like that was his whole thing. He didn't care about when he made Star Wars, it was like, I just want to make this little sci-fi picture for 10-year-olds that's like Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon. And, you know, it might make a couple $1 million. It's probably not going to make its money back. He never expected it to be our fairy tale, our mythology. So like, it got away from him. And I think that's where the prequels got away from him.
And again, he was a catalyst. He created industrial light and magic around it and revolutionized the effects. He got Harrison Ford, John Williams elevated all that. You're absolutely right. He, you know, life is not like that. He didn't set out to be, you can't plan that. That's not a business plan. That's not a life plan. It just happened. And what he did with it, for a long time, he had an incredible run as a producer. And you know, it's like that line in Dark Knight. It's like you either die a hero or you stay alive long enough to be a villain. Well, now he's the villain because everyone's like, your legacy's gone. And we kind of scared him off after he really lost his way with the prequels. He was like, I'm done, I'm out. And now we've got people that weren't there, that didn't believe in it the same, that weren't as challenged, that didn't come from an arty background, who felt that, you know, let's dabble in genre. Now you've got people who are like, yeah, I've heard of Star Wars, I'll work on that. You know, that's who's doing it now. And that's a huge difference. What you get's gonna be different.
Well, and I think that's the biggest point I was getting to, is that none of these people making movies nowadays are challenged, right? Like, George was challenged at that time. Steven was challenged when he made Jaws, right? Like, all these guys were challenged. Coppola damn near killed himself to make the fucking Godfather.
That's right.
I mean, these guys were all pushed to their breaking points and beyond. And nowadays, all you got to do is say, well, let's just do this and we'll fix it in post. You know, it's kind of started with the prequels. Like, that's where George kind of came in. He had all these toys. He didn't have any of the challenges he used to have. His biggest challenge now is, what do I do with all these toys?
Yeah, you know? Like I exactly. I've said it on here before. The great art needs a frame. It needs borders. It needs limitations and boundaries that you have to work around. That otherwise, it's just scribbling all over the place. If you don't have some kind of a framework you have to work in. And like you say, all these people were challenged. They must have believed in it, because no reasonable human being would have kept doing what they are. If you look at some of the behind the scenes footage of like Apocalypse Now or Godfather, or, you know, any of those movies, Jaws, where the shark wasn't working, these guys really wanted to see this movie. They really wanted to make it work. They found workarounds. They didn't know how it would turn out. They were probably despondent. I always get despondent when you see your first cut. You're like, what have I done?
In
Why
Marvel,
is this
call
so
that
bad?
a suicide cut.
Yeah, exactly. I want to kill myself. But you know what? If you actually believe in it, and it's not a white paper given down by a corporation, or it's not a widget or a thing, then you're going to get some that are great, that have passion, that your hit ratio of things that are actually interesting. I want to do something that Kurosawa used to do. One of the reasons Akira Kurosawa's films were so good is he literally hired a third guy to just sit at the meeting, sit at the writing, sit at the edit, and his job was to say, "No, you're taking the easy way out. No, that's convenient. You're making that happen because you want to make that
that's
happen."
a really good advice, because as annoying as it is, like any time in like teamwork or development of anything, whether it be something creative, something practical, something in IT, on any good team, there is that one annoying person that nobody likes who says, nope, won't work.
Yep.
That's the person you sometimes need to take seriously, because he may very well have seen something that others have seen themselves blind on.
Yeah, that's a great point, Andre. It's a terrific point. And yes, that person will not be the most popular person in the room sometimes.
Far from it.
But they're welcome, because I've gotten angry at some of my friends. Like, I had a fellow writer, filmmaker I sent something to, and he's like, well, that just didn't work. And that just, I'm like, what do you mean? And I went back and I looked at it, and sure enough, I got angry and I hated that he was right. But it ended up in my final film, and it ended up in another script that I changed what it was because they were right. And I didn't see it. And it didn't compromise my vision. It made it better. And you need to set your ego aside. You have to have an ego to create, of course, but you have to set it aside and go, you know what? You're right. It isn't clear. How would you know you were in that building? And when you get too successful, the danger is, as you say, that person in the room that annoys you, you pay to go away.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of, I think, the biggest problem is with George is, like, I'm not trying to dump on him or anything like that. And the prequels have a lot of great ideas and a lot of great moments, but I think we start to see what is to be in Return of the Jedi because of how disconnected it is, because that's the one he had the most control on down the road. And then when he did the prequels, they had no real sense of urgency or through line. And he even said it himself in an interview where he's like, yeah, I put 5 minutes of story in the first film, maybe 5-10 minutes in the second film, and then realized I had, a 5-hour story to tell and only 2 hours to do it in the third film. It's like, duh, George, and that's just it. It's he didn't have, the leadership there, at least somebody to guide him, I should say. Because, that's the thing, is when it comes to Empire, that's his least favorite of all the films, yet that's the fans' favorite. Like he dislikes it because that's not his cut of the film. If he got his way, his version would have been the one that didn't have some of the most memorable character moments that we all enjoy and love, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And I don't, fault him for that. He's just somebody, like you just said, Tom, you made the great point. He's too close to it, right? He needed to be able to disconnect a little bit and have somebody else with a different set of eyes look at it and go, yeah, but George, that don't make no fucking sense.
That's right. And somebody that he knows loves him and his idea and isn't trying to just pee on it for no reason.
Exactly.
It's somebody there who goes, I love what you're doing. Let me help you on the way. You need, more than just what you're doing. You need another set of eyes on it. And if you respect somebody and you disagree, of course you have the right to say, no, I'm going to stick to my guns and do it. But also he was smart enough at the end of the day, back when he was at the height of his powers, he knew, you know what, they're right. I'm going to leave in Han Solo, saying, I love you. I know, I'm going to leave it in. I wouldn't have done it, but you know what? It's a crowd pleaser and I was wrong.
Yeah.
And that's to his credit. I think the legacy of George is going to be a catalyst. The legacy of him is that he attracted some of the best talent in every level you possibly could. He's not going to be perfect. In fact, he probably learns more from his failures. And he failed late in life with his prequels and didn't really get to redeem himself after, because he sold off the company. But you're not doing anything if you don't fail. Sometimes you don't try something that doesn't work. You're not going to be 100% every time. You're not going to hit it out of the ballpark.
Well, I know Andre has to take off here soon, but I think this is where, George should have really tried to usher in some new younger directors for the prequels.
Yeah.
Because the best scene in episode 3 is not this, in my opinion, is not the scene that most people they're gonna pick. My favorite scene is the exchange between the Emperor and Yoda when they talk when he comes in the room. And he's like, not if anything to say about it, I do.
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah. That's a
And
great scene.
You want to know why I love that scene so much? It's just before the fight part, is because Steven Spielberg directed that scene.
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
didn't know that. Oh,
Steven Spielberg directed that scene because George wanted him to test out the digital filming for Crystal Skull.
Ah, okay.
So he let him.
That's why it moved like that. Yeah,
he
it moved
let him
well.
film the Palpatine Yoda scene, and that's why that scene to me stands out above the rest. But you know, like George, I think he needed to bring in some young guys to kind of bring him a little bit more to the table, and those guys would have challenged him a little bit, I think.
I agree.
Like Jesse says here, are you sure, Tom? They seem pretty challenged to me. The problem is they're not taking the challenge in stride. They're not running with it. It's like, okay, now your challenge isn't you can't do anything you want to do. The challenge is you can do anything you want to do. So now you got to make your story and your characters stand out more than the special effects.
Right, because you could create literally anything
Exactly.
now on the desktop. You have to now hold yourself to an even higher standard, that it needs to be worth the idea that you can sit and create digitally literally anything with no limitation. Now give me something that's worthy of that. Give me a story or make me care, because we've become blasé about the most extraordinary. I mean, imagine going back in time with any of the footage. We now kind of go, the effects are okay or whatever. If you went back in time to the 70s with any of that footage, you'd be a god.
Well, just imagine if he could have molded a young J.J. Abrams at that point.
Yep. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And brought in 2 other young directors, and we could have had 3 new guys that's directed Star Wars films under the wing of George Lucas, learning from him.
Yeah.
And he's being challenged by their young ideas and energy. And I think it would have worked out perfectly, because
he would have found a balance.
He tried to get like Ron Howard and Steven Spielberg to direct the prequels, and they didn't want to do it. And I understand why. It's like, George, this is your baby.
Yeah.
Why are you trying to give it to us? You
Yeah.
know? But anyway, Andre, I know you have to exit here soon, so I don't know if you had any final thoughts on that before we move on here. Are you there, Andre?
Maybe he didn't. He's moved on.
He must have ran away for a minute. But he didn't send me any of the super chats, but we do have a couple here we can bring up on the screen, so we'll grab those real quick. Let's see here. Got to scroll back.
And I want to say thank you to the chat there for some great comments and shout outs to me. Thank you.
Eva Unit 4A says, was KK the idiot in the room that made Spielberg movies better? She said stupid things that made him make a correction.
No, I think it was Larry Kasdan. There's a recording of Larry Kasdan taking notes between George and Steven when they were writing Raiders, and he was that third guy who was like, "Oh yeah, that's good, but shouldn't it be a whip?" You know, and just stuff that's that guy. I think
her contribution was, what if he gets the dog instead?
Or KK was like, you've got reservations at the Hilton in Tunisia on Thursday. She was very good at that.
Pretty much. Daniel sends in $20, says, I would love to go back to the days where greedy and lazy creatives painted by numbers to produce bad movies instead of purple-haired radicals purposefully deconstructing for agendas. Failed profits still affected the former.
Amen, Daniel.
I've said we need more cocaine and capitalism, because even though a lot of times a lot of them were just cash grabs, at least they knew that a cash grab had to get butts in the seats, right?
Yes. And they smelled talent because they knew they could use it. Yeah.
Yeah. And they sold the movies on what they had, not like on agendas.
Oh, I would love to have been back then as a filmmaker. It would have been amazing. Just the Wild West of, Roger Corman and Coppola in the 70s and all that. It would have been amazing to be back then.
No kidding, right? But yeah, the problem then is like you had so much freedom, but it was so expensive to make a movie, because just to get your hand even on like a 16 millimeter or a 35 millimeter camera was.
Yep, you had lab costs, you had all that kind of stuff.
But
hey, you could still pull out a Terminator.
Absolutely. Sidebook VR sends an, I don't know what that is. Holy cow, 5,000 of it, whatever it is.
Thank you.
I'm gonna steal a saying from Andy and call it Woolly Bullies. It's someone in HR. Lucas seems like an entrepreneur suit who thinks himself an artist but just hires artists. more suited to build infrastructure. You're not totally wrong.
But he's a catalyst more. I think he's a
Yeah.
catalyst. He is definitely some creative. But of course he runs a great business. You know, he finished off Jurassic Park. One of the reasons the effects stand up to this day is Steven handed that off to him. He shepherded that through the post-production process and everything. George, there are different kinds of genius, and he definitely has genius at some things, and we need to give him credit.
Well, yeah, ILM, Pixar were both two of his
absolutely.
children.
Yeah.
You know, he created digital editing. Marsha talks a lot about how much he did for digital editing in that Kazajan book and stuff like that. So yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, he's done a lot. So you can't take that away from him at all. Stephen Otten sends in $5. Says Spielberg made one movie for George, then walked away from Indy 5 to make a shot-for-shot remake of a classic. His heart ain't in it anymore. You're not wrong there, Stephen.
Yeah, Stephen.
And honestly, I'm kind of glad he did walk away. He
was done. Yeah,
he saw that fire coming.
He was done. Yeah, he's like, look, I'll exec produce, but then to turn around and do West Side Story, that's ballsy. I tell you,
No,
you know, 10 Oscar nominations. It's like, you know what, I could do it better.
And then we're going to go back to classic super chats. We got Crass Socks who says, hail. Thank you so much for the $4.99 and hail to you. Michael Miller says, Star Wars Visions is legit fun. 2 episodes in, and I'm so enjoying. Well, I'm glad to hear that, and I'm not surprised because I believe that was something that was outsourced to other studios. So it's most likely that it was it had the chance to be better than a lot of the other things we've gotten out of Disney lately. So I'm glad to hear that. Maybe I'll have to check it out. Have you got a chance to check it out at all yet, Tom?
No, but it's definitely one I want to watch. I really want that insight. It looks like it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And then we got Hyper Guyver 2 who said their best. Losers always whine about their best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen.
I love that scene. Yeah. The Untouchables. I love it.
Actually, it's from The Rock.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's right. Yeah. From The Rock. From The Rock.
I'm doing my best, says Nicholas.
Doing my best. Your best. Yeah.
Losers always whine about their best.
That's right. The Rock.
Fuck the prom queen. It's like, my wife was the prom queen. Yeah.
Yeah, now Connery was having fun in that movie, you can tell.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I saw that movie. I just left a funeral, and it was really, you know, just one of those moods. And my cousin's like, let's go to the movies. I'm like, what, are you kidding? He's like, yeah, let's just get out of here. Let's go to the movies. And it was just one of those things I needed at that moment, you know? So, yeah, that movie will always have a place for me.
Oh, yeah. And I know Connery at one point on set, he was just like, this is great. I get to make a James Bond movie.
Well, it kind of, a lot of people do kind of in their head canon. That is like, James
he's absolutely, absolutely. He was having a ball. So,
old James Bond is like, well, what would they do with him? They would stick him in
a thing with all his secrets. Yeah.
Anyway, so then Dash Attack says, if Chapek was smart, he would have announced that fast-tracked Mando season 3 and Rangers into production. Yes, that means Gina, HBO Max is going to steamroll them. You may not be wrong. Now that we know more about, you know, what we did say that Mando season 3 was getting delayed. I know there's some logistic reasons for that on top of it, but
there are, and now you've got the IATSE strike looming, so they're probably waiting to see what will happen with that. I thought Mando was starting in a month or two. Am I wrong?
They haven't started yet, I don't think, but they should be soon. They just finished up, Boba Fett and the Obi-Wan series though, so they'll be coming. And I think Andor, the Casio keyboard or whatever, Andor or whatever the hell it's called. That guy, I think that series is done too, or something like that.
Yeah, I think
or they were doing reshoots on it. One of the two.
Yeah, and there's the Obi-Wan thing too. Did that get shot yet?
Yeah, that's done. They just finished that. Okay. I think it was just recently they finished that because I think Ewan McGregor had said something the other day about it.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah. Nikki D says, would the decline of D Plus subscriptions be a tacit condemnation to the quality and the popularity of the MCU D Plus shows thus far? Yes, but at the same time, I think the big thing is what we were saying is they just kind of hit that ceiling. So now you're just going to see constant churning. Yeah, but the shows aren't helping.
It's going to it's going to plateau. I mean, we're talking about 106 million people. It's going to churn through the top, and unfortunately, people have very short patience and or attention span on some stuff. So it's like, well, there's no new shows on here. I'm going to drop that. I haven't seen anything in a couple weeks. You know, whereas back in the day you had ABC and you just waited for the fall shows or whatever happened. Now it's sort of a, what have you done for me lately?
Yeah, and then I don't think the normies are going to go out of their way to see a lot of this Marvel stuff.
No.
I mean, a lot of the main people are gone.
Yeah.
Most normies don't know superheroes outside of the Hulk and Superman and
Yep.
Batman and Spider-Man. So, like,
Exactly.
a lot of the stuff they're seeing now is no different than Arrow shit or something on CW. So they have. That's why Loki was the only one that was really that popular, is because
people knew him. Yeah,
people knew him, and he's got a bit of a following with the the emo kids and stuff like that. So.
Yeah.
Outside of that, they're going to be kind of here and there and spotty. Spider-Man's going to do well, but I don't expect Eternals to do very well. I'll be surprised if Shang-Chi crawls across 400 million at the box office.
Yeah.
It's
definitely, this phase is not doing as well, but then it peaked with Endgame for me.
Yeah.
It was this whole build up for 10 years. And then you had all those great guys like Robert Downey Jr. and, all of them. And now, it feels like the B lineup in a baseball game. And I think Disney Plus needs to have a normie hit. They need their friends, They need their cheers, or they need something where regular people will tune in and maybe also check out some of the genre stuff.
And Mandalorian isn't even it.
Yeah, no.
Because I've talked to a lot of people, like, they'll have the kids will have the Baby Yoda stuff and all that kind. It's like, oh, so what do you think of the show? Oh, we never watched it.
Yeah, they never watch it. Yeah.
They need just something like the Baby Yoda.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they need a few balanced mainstream normie things. I think it will actually help those of us that like genre stuff. If there's just a bigger, deeper bench to dip into as far as people, then they can diversify, as long as they don't get stupid and go, oh wait, people want shows like Friends, and stop making all superhero and sci-fi stuff. That's another stupid decision they could make. They need to find a balance.
They need a Stranger Things kind of hit.
Yeah, exactly. Good point. Yeah.
Yeah, they need something that brings in people, or what's that other one, The Handmaid's Tale or whatever Hulu has.
Yeah.
Something like that. Something that's original that brings
everybody in.
Marvel doing it. So I don't think you're wrong in your assessment there, but I don't think that's the only reason.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. Let's see here. MB says, Andre, I'm still waiting on Stargate. Bad news. Or how about complete retrospective on Stargate franchise, or both, please? Me, fuck the world. I don't know if Andre's here at the moment.
No.
I know we haven't heard anything new yet, but it was kind of tangentially. The thing is, the MGM is kind of all over the place right now, because they're kind of waiting to see if the deal's going to go through Amazon. And if that happens, then yes, there is some things that I think are set to go with Stargate, but don't get your hopes up, because I think they're going to be very politically charged, is what I've kind of heard. So.
Yeah, that seems to be the mandate of the day. Is we want it, but we want political. We want it to be of its time. 2 years from now, people are going, "What are they talking about?"
Well, and I think that's the problem we're running into some of this entertainment now. Is like a lot of this stuff was made back when Orange Man Bad was all the rage.
Yep, and now it's irrelevant. Yeah,
it's irrelevant.
Yeah, you're like, okay, and I like to call it evergreen. Like the thing that I loved about some comedy is I call it evergreen comedy. Like it's still funny 10 years later, 15 years later, versus, maybe a bit on Saturday Night Live where if you didn't know who Gerald Ford's press secretary was, it's not funny anymore.
Right.
Where they're like, hey, remember Herman Melville? And it's like, no. Oh, that was hilarious in that sketch. That never happens.
Yeah, exactly. Or when I bring up Paul Lynn, most people in the chat are like, who?
Yeah, exactly. Who?
But no, you're 110% right. And the other term we used not too long ago was not evergreen, but timeless.
Yeah, timeless.
A lot of things are not timeless now. I mean, we brought up even movies like Back to the Future, even though they are set in a finite time.
Right.
The stories are still timeless, and the jokes that they chose to use, most of them are not set in a way that you have to be that time to get. Like the Ronald Reagan joke, for instance. He was a president, so obviously he's still going to be talked about in schools.
Exactly.
So
they didn't talk about some minutia from the 1980s. The joke was, if you're out of time and you're a fish out of water in this different time, things are going to be different, and you can enjoy it now. And not, my son wasn't even alive. He's when Back to the Future is out, he loves that movie because everybody knows the experience of feeling out of place or being displaced, or the social satire of how things have changed over time.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference between that and doing a comedy that's like, look how 2020 sucks, you know, and it's like,
comedies
okay,
age the worst usually. That's the point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Karate Kid's another great example of a timeless movie because, you know, sure, it's set in 84, but there's nothing about it that really kind of grounds it.
Exactly. It's universal. Yeah. And that's a big plus. Your movie, like you say, it should be timeless. Your stories should play, you know, 40 years from now, 60 years from now, whatever. The greats. Yeah.
So yeah, moving on, we got a few more super chats here. Mike, or the Black Douglas says, I almost called him Michael Douglas.
Michael Douglas is in here.
We already got the one about Event Horizon, the first part, but then he came in again and said, in Event Horizon, the gravity drive blew my mind. It was a spectacle.
Yeah.
I have a feeling Amazon will tone it down. The OG rough cut was too gruesome. Yeah. That's the other thing that I know this isn't exactly what you're getting to, Black Douglas, but that's the other thing that I was getting to before about being able to do anything you want now. Like Jurassic Park was kind of the last time where we were able to go, God, how the hell did they do that?
Yeah.
Like, because beyond that point, we knew it was all computers.
Yeah. The audience has gotten very savvy, and so now they expect a lot more of their entertainment. They you know.
And that's where I feel like there was a lot of failure in modern films, is instead of trying to challenge themselves with, you know, telling good stories and so on.
It's easy spectacle. That's the problem. Easy spectacle.
And then Sidebook VR sent in another super chat earlier who said, how would global recession affect streaming services? Oh, it surely would affect them because people ain't going to have the money to spend. But at the same time, a streaming service is a lot cheaper entertainment option than going out to the movies for one movie or buying one video or renting one video. So if a push comes to shove and you have that little bit of money to spend on entertainment, not as much as you used to, of course you're going to probably spend it on something like Disney Plus or Netflix as opposed to just going to see one movie in the theater.
Yep. And also globally, I think a lot of their partnerships that like Disney's trying to make or Netflix trying to make partnerships in Latin America, because there isn't as much disposable money there, or companies are constricting because of everything that's been happening. I think it's made it a challenge to find partnerships in other countries that are willing to spend the kind of money you need to build, you know, an infrastructure like we have here. And so I think a global recession or a global problem, as they were saying, that has all kinds of unexpected problems in connecting us with a you know, sort of global audience, but also global content, because the first thing that kind of suffers is the arts. People are like, that's a luxury item.
Very, very true. So yeah, I think that's a great point as well. Gosker Valet says, she was, we already got that one. And then Kung Fu Hot Dog came in with 10 pounds and says, what makes me laugh is how the MCU apologized for their take on females in the past, the same way D Plus has disclaimers on older content. If Marvel Studios were solo, how would that model look? Unfortunately, I don't think they would be free from getting infiltrated by the politics. I don't think it'd be as hardcore. Because if, say, like Paramount would have bought Marvel instead of Disney, I think they would have just let them be a bit more autonomous, or allowed them to just continue to do what they were doing. So I don't think it would have come in as quickly, and I don't think it would have been as excessive. Like, I don't think Captain Marvel would have happened. Let's be real. Like, for instance, right. But now Black Panther might have happened.
Maybe.
So like I think we would have seen like a balance there. Black Widow may have come in place of Captain Marvel. In hindsight, I think the better choice would have been if Paramount would have been smart and bought them. But I think we're in the world we're in now, so we don't really know the answer.
I think you're right. Dead on. I agree.
And then we have let's see here, Sidebook VR. I think we got this one. But no, I don't think we did, actually. Sidebook VR sent yet another one before the other super chat and said, Lucas seems like the personality who craves order but stuck in a chaotic industry and bad mindset habits of the 60s and 70s, thus sabotaging himself. I think that's a very good observation.
Yeah,
I think
that's
you're
a
right.
really interesting point. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I think the prequel suffered most, because that's where he felt like a kid in a candy store.
Yeah.
Right? Like he had no restrictions whatsoever, which
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to do this exactly how I think it should be done, and I've got all this digital equipment, and I don't have to deal with people. You know?
exactly. Yeah, because even steal different takes from different shots and stuff.
Yep.
It was kind of nuts.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a very good observation indeed. Charles Burnett then says, with $35 US, thank you so much. Do you guys think that we will ever get a remake of THX 1138?
I doubt it. I doubt it.
I don't think
It's such a personal movie, and
George would let that happen.
I don't think he. Why? Yeah, why would he let that go? Yeah, does someone want to see a remake of that? I don't know.
Hey, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's an all right movie, don't get me wrong, but outside of the visuals, if you take all of that away, the story is pretty simple. And I mean, we've had so many movies and television shows that have kind of similar ideas to it.
It was groundbreaking at the time, but I think if you did the same story, which would make it a remake, it wouldn't be breaking new ground.
Sadly, I feel like we'd wind up with something like we did with the Westworld television.
Yeah, it would be like the Westworld series,
which kind of started off
Black Mirror.
Yeah, it kind of started off with a great idea, but then fell underneath the weight of itself, and then the politics got involved. So yeah, like, well, see, that's the thing, is THX 1138 has an interesting concept that kind of would play to a lot of the current day things, because like sex is made illegal, right? Like that's one of the big things in it.
Right.
But the thing is with the story is, if you've ever seen the film, it's a very stoic.
It's a very cold. It's a very intellectual, experimental film, and the point of the film is to not be warm and inviting. It's like a film made by someone who lives in the world of the film. You know, and ironically, it's a film made by someone who seems like they've been numbed down and are dealing with it, which is what George was trying to do. The sound work in it is amazing. I think that was one of the first times. Was it Walter Murch and those guys, Ben Burt, were just doing this cool sound stuff, and all that ended up in Star Wars. So he was playing with things, and it's okay, you know, experiment with it, but there's no need to do that experiment again, in my opinion.
No, but I think that THX is, like, I think Tom's right. I think that's probably the closest thing that George has ever got to do that's pure George.
Yeah, pure George experimental. Yeah.
And I don't think he'd ever let anybody touch it, because I think even Hitchcock had a lot of stipulations in his will and certain things about when his movies could be remade or sequelized and stuff like that. So
Yep. I don't think he's going to let that one go. Yeah.
I'm sure he has some kind of say and sway over certain things. And then Mecha J sent in $5. Thank you so much. Says, to George's credit, he at least admits he mucked up the prequels. You won't see Jar Jar or JJ Abe or Ryan ever admitting their mistakes with the sequels. You're right for the most part, although Jar Jar is kind of, or JJ, I call him Jar Jar Abrams too, has kind of admitted that, like, or at least he's did the whole, well, the fans are right. If they don't like it, then they're right. You know, like, he at least was smart enough to do that, right? Like, he didn't challenge the fans on their views in that sense. And I'm not saying that the fans shouldn't be challenged, but I think you have this level now where, with social media, which we really saw with Ryan Johnson and to another extent with Mangold, where it's like sometimes you just gotta let shit go.
Yeah, and you shouldn't be available all the time through social media. I think being on high and being an artist and being not accessible is sometimes a good thing. I think it's a double-edged sword. You know, we never had Twitter up until, 15, almost 20 years ago. Having direct access to our heroes or the creators having direct access to their audience can be great, but it can also be pretty damn bad. Yeah, and we've seen that. And you have to have I would say more discipline, more control of yourself in that situation, because you don't want to alienate your fans. Sure, you can be available. You should be open. I love talking to people. Somebody sends me a thing. They're like, hey, dude, I bought your Blu-ray, or I liked your video, or whatever. I love that. The last thing I would want to do is if somebody said, you know what, you suck. And I'm like, maybe I do. But me getting into an argument, no, I don't. You know? It's like, what's the point? He thinks I suck. She thinks I suck. That's cool. Not everybody has to like it, and I think the problem with Ryan and James is they got into that, well, everybody loves me kind of thing. When the general public says, hey, I don't like your thing, they're like, what do you mean? And attack them. And that's not the way the relationship between someone who is creating something and the artist. It shouldn't be that kind of relationship. It's that crosses the line, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, and I've had to learn, even just on a much smaller level. Of course, they will get criticism, and I'll read it, and sometimes
it hurts.
I'll take it. Well, not so much even hurts, but like sometimes I'll take it in stride and be like, all right, I'll try and change that or whatever.
Sure,
but I won't sit there and go blasting at the person.
Yeah, what's the point? Yeah.
Once in a while, somebody will make a statement. I'll be like, maybe you should watch the video first.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. You'll get that, but outside of that, I try to be as understanding and take it in stride as much as possible.
Yeah.
Melvin Belliard says with $50, holy cow!
Wow, thank you
so much. Says, good afternoon, Midnight's Edge panel. What that excerpt from that book shows me, and excuse me, let me just start this. What that excerpt from that book shows me, and I would like your opinions on this. It shows that Marcia should have been the one in charge of Disney Star Wars. The love she has for the story and characters really shows. I agree with you to a point, but actually she does kind of point out in another section that it is George's, right? Like he's the one who came up with it. She was just simply there shepherding it at the end. And she walked away from the business.
I agree. I think Melvin makes a great point. Someone who cares. What he's really saying is someone who cares and gets it should be in charge, which I thought was Favreau and Filoni. Frankly, they seem to get it more than anybody else, but they didn't organically get it. They weren't on the radar when he sold it to Disney. They've just kind of grown out of it, and you could tell. Favreau loves Star Wars. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, he does, but I don't think he wants Lucasfilm, right?
No, I don't think he does, but that kind of person is who needs to be running it.
And I think Marcia was even getting to is the same thing we all thought when we first heard about this. On paper, Kathleen Kennedy makes more than sense, right? Like, she seemed to be the best person for the job if you sat down and looked at it from the perspective and angle of everybody, including George himself, who chose her. But I think that's what that was the best part, is Marcia said what George couldn't say. Because even though George may not have been able to articulate what he wanted to do in the prequels, and I'm very critical of them, I will still swear up and down every day that those are more Star Wars than anything we've gotten in the last few years, hands down. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. I liked it, and I thought it felt like Star Wars, and it felt like somebody that actually cared about it, and it had a quality to it, and more of that would go a long way to getting people excited about it again.
My question was, and again, this was where KK fucked up. Where was Ben Burt? Speaking of, you brought him up earlier.
Yep. Ben.
Where was he at? No, he wasn't working on Star Wars. He was off fucking doing stupid shit because he wasn't asked to come and work on Star Wars.
They didn't ask him, which is insane.
Like, where was Joe Johnston?
Yeah.
Where's
I know
all these other people.
Yep. They are certainly available. I got to meet Joe. He was dating the woman that was line producing my movie, and got to talk to him, and I think he's a great resource. He loves Star Wars. He designed, so much of it, and he's available. It's not like he hasn't worked for Marvel and Disney before. He did Captain America.
And I know Ron did Solo, and I know he had no interest in doing them otherwise, and I know kind of the reason
he was brought in really late. Yeah,
he did a lot of that because they needed some money.
Yeah,
let's say.
Yeah. I'm sure he got a many picture deal out of that. Yeah.
Well, it wasn't even so much that, because some things that I had heard are starting to come to fruition. He had a plan. They had nothing going on at Imagine at that point, but they needed some money.
Yeah,
and he had nothing going on, so it was just like the right time kind of thing, and they needed the money because Willow was on the horizon, but they hadn't got started on it yet. But outside of that, he had nothing else going on, and I was told that he's planned on directing a couple more movies, and then he's retiring. Well, lo and behold, just come up in the paper the other day, and this is another thing I was told was going to happen. Imagine is looking at selling.
Oh, So
So
he's
yeah,
getting
all those things I was told are coming to fruition. He's gonna probably retire, and imagine they're gonna sell out. And yeah,
he's done his thing, and I don't blame him. That's great.
but yeah, I thought that was where their biggest misstep. Instead of bringing in like JJ and Ryan and all that stuff, Kathleen Kennedy should have brought in people that she trusted and knew.
Yes.
Robert Zemeckis should have been directing a fucking.
Oh, can
Star
you
Wars
imagine?
movie.
Yeah, Bob Zemeckis would have been incredible doing something like that. Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
and that's the problem we have with that there. But yeah, no, Marsha, I don't think she would have wanted to be in charge of Star Wars, to go back to the question, but there's plenty of people that they could have brought in that had the pedigree, that were there on the ground, and they didn't. And I think the biggest mistake of all was not having Ben Burt there. The voice of R2D2 was not there.
Yeah,
the
it was
guy
not
who
there.
the voice
Created
of
the
the
sound of
lightsaber,
Star Wars. Yeah,
everything. And not only that, he was very hands-on with the prequels. He edited the prequels.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're missing something when you don't have that guy there. Yeah.
I mean, he's been there since the beginning. I mean, there's so many people that are still around that would probably love to be around, but you fucked it up now.
But no, that they were like, no, I'm going in a totally different way. We're going to get people that have nothing to do with it.
Black Douglas says, compare Alien 3 theatrical to assembly cut, still a lot missing, but studios do massacre films. They basically blocked Fincher at every turn. Oh yeah, that's nothing new.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Luckily, we've gotten DVD and Blu-ray to kind of help usher in the director's cut and the extended cuts and whatnot. But
yeah, which is nice we would never have had access to. That's why physical media, I'm telling you.
But then again, you have the other side of it where J.J. Abrams was able to film Rise of Skywalker 3 times over. he shot like 3 different films.
I know. Well, so that again, that's the problem. There's no frame. There's no limit. It's like, wow, we could do this cut and this cut and this cut. If they all work, it means something's wrong.
Yeah. And I hope we didn't miss any in between here. I don't know if Andre's still hovering around or not. But Dash D says, with Canadian $10, I think of movies today like this. I go to a Yankees game to see them play the Red Sox. When I get there, it's the Durham Bulls playing the Toledo Mud Hens in their uniforms. I'm going to feel cheated as fuck. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a lot of movies nowadays.
That's true.
It's like, dare I even bother watching the trailers anymore?
Yeah. Ugh. Good point.
And I hope we didn't miss any in between there. And Dash D's had another one who says, I'm glad Tom has come to appreciate the fact that he's a stinky head. It saves us a lot of time in typing. Thanks, Tom. You're the best. Just kidding. Do you mean me or the other Tom? You got to be more.
I'm a stinky head. It's probably me.
I don't know. I'm a pretty stinky head. I don't know. I'm sure I pissed a lot of people
off. It's a little vague when you say Tom. It's a little
always piss people off when I talk about George Lucas. It never fucking fails.
I love George Lucas. I really
love
do.
him too, but I'm a realist, right?
Yeah.
Like
he's a human being. Yeah, he's a person.
He's not a god. He's a genius, but he's not a god.
Yeah, and you know what? Years from now, when he's gone, we'll look back and it'll be a balanced portrait of him. We'll see all the great that he did, and we'll see. We stay around as long as he is. He's going to have missteps. You're gonna go wrong. He should never have sold Lucasfilm, in my opinion.
Yeah. Rod Thunderheart says, "Hail Andre, hail Tom and Tom. I don't want to say anyone don't want. Excuse me. I don't want any. No, that's what he wrote. Okay, don't what anyone says. The prequels do have value. Yeah,
I don't care what he says. Yeah.
I gotcha.
It did move the story forward. It did not do what the sequels did, which is tell the exact same story again.
Yeah. So I don't want everybody to get me wrong, but yeah, they still build the worlds, and we hungered to know more about. Oh yeah, he at least took advantage of what it was, and at least George tried to bring something new to the table every time, right? He didn't. That was his big thing. He wanted to do something new every time. So at least in that respect, he did. Culture Casino, how you doing, buddy? Says, so many bad decisions by the leader of Lucasfilm's newest PR guys will likely do a worse job as predicted. Disney slow. Well, if you're not busy, Culture, I'll send you the link. I know you weren't feeling the best, so that's why I didn't.
Hello, Culture.
Yeah. I'll send him the link. Because I'm sure he has a few things to say about this, because we're going to jump to another subject here before we lose you. I know we're going to lose you very, very soon here.
Yeah, unfortunately, I just got some meetings over my script and some stuff I need to do.
Rod Thunderhead says, love the chat this morning. Heard from the start. Well, glad to hear, Rod, and we're glad you're here, Rod Thunderheart.
I love that name.
You got to say it that way. It doesn't sound right.
Rod Thunderheart.
There you go.
I love it. Rob Thunderheart.
Yes. As Jace Great, Rod Thunderheart. You can't just say it like a normal name. But we only got you for like 10 more minutes. But there was another bit to this I wanted to get your opinion on real quick. I think, I don't know if you've met him yet. I think you have. Cameron Pasha.
You know what? He's the one guy I haven't. We're friends on Facebook, and I actually reposted his thing that he's writing. But I would love to talk to him sometime.
Okay, well, I don't know if you've been keeping up, but him and Script Doctor and Andre have kind of come to the conclusion that Chapek is playing some 4D chess right now, especially since the ScarJo stuff has come up and battling back and forth in the media. And so, yeah, last week I saw this. This goes right into what those guys have been saying and says, is Bob Chapek ruining Disney already?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, there could be some 4D chess going on there. Yeah. Yeah, Cameron really knows. I mean, he knows the business side even more than I do. He's very good at that. I've watched some of the shows you guys have done with him. I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that he's playing a very high level game here, ball game. I don't know the machinations or whatever, but if he is, it's genius.
Well, and there's another side of this too, because Brian Lord, who's the CAA president, I believe, or
That's
CEO. Right. Hey, how you doing, Culture? Who was out talking against Disney and lambasting them in the press. Well, then all of a sudden you have this yesterday, where this guy from Endeavor was like, Disney is doing the right thing.
That's right.
So we know now who Disney's playing ball with as far as agencies, don't we?
Oh, Culture? Of course, yeah. And he's got Scarlett as a client, and he's very well connected.
Yeah.
Brian Lord, that's CAA.
Yeah, but now this guy.
Endeavor. You're talking about Endeavor.
Yeah, Endeavor is like making a move here, so now we know who's working.
But their talent bench. They're probably like, hey, let's play ball. We want to have people on your streaming service.
Exactly.
And frankly, somebody who does this for a living, the streaming contracts have sucked for 20 years because they keep saying, like I was saying at the beginning of the show, it's a Wild West. We don't know. We're not making any money. I mean, we're having our best year yet, but it's streaming. Who knows? We don't have. There's no residuals. We can't pay you. So it's about time to have that reckoning.
There you go. So I just was curious what you thought about that. If you thought that there was some behind the scenes movements going on, but you do have to leave here soon. So I just want to give you a chance to plug anything that you got upcoming, and then we'll get into this a little bit more with Culture here.
Oh, thank you. Absolutely. And Culture, it's good to see you. How have you been?
See you, Tom. I was a little under the weather, but I'm bouncing back. So.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're feeling better. Yeah, a couple people are getting that kind of fall cold, little stomach bug or something.
Yeah, it was a little tummy trouble. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I have a couple friends that have. Yeah. Well, I'm I still have my film out. Trouble is my business. Please take a look and support what I'm doing. I am in the middle of writing a script right now that I'm on a deadline for, and then I am going to be making an announcement in trades and other places that I'm doing a slate of movies hopefully next year, and starting to track some money and some talent to that. And I'll be reaching out obviously to everybody here at Midnight Edge for Midnight's Edge has been so supportive to try and get some films going, like a Meth Gator, which is my Coen brothers take on Jaws type film, with Meth Gator, Savage, which is my kind of contained high pressure horror sci-fi, and then something I'm doing with Vernon and a bunch of other great Australian actors called Island in the Stars, which is basically a fairy tale. It's a sci-fi in the spirit of Treasure Island and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It's an old school, no agenda, just fun adventure set in the far future. So those are going to be things I'm working on next year. So look for my stuff now. If you go to troubleismy.biz and look at my company, which is lumenactus.com, LUMENACTUS.com. And thank you to everybody here, and Tom, Andre, Culture. It's great to see you, and thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here, Tom. It helps if I'm unmuted.
It always
we hope
helps.
to have you again back,
Especially in
soon,
radio.
of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
We love having you here, and we love your insights, and we always love talking to you about everything.
Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have more to discuss and some other cool things you got coming up to talk about soon as well. It looks like Andre popped back in for a moment.
Yeah, I popped in for a moment. Like I'm alone with the kids here, so there's like
understand.
There's no nothing romantic. I just a single dad for the evening. So yeah,
absolutely, I understand. Well,
but
thank
Mr.
you for
Konkle,
having me.
It's
Andre.
always a pleasure to have you on. Sorry I couldn't be here any much longer.
That's fine.
Yeah, always fascinating to hear your insights that I've been listening in on in the background.
Oh, thank you very much. I really enjoy being here. You've gotten me re-energized about YouTube, even on my own channel. I actually did a commentary about Denis Villeneuve on my channel and him kind of pissing on popular films. And you've reinvigorated my interest in all of it. So I love being on here. And sometime I do want to be on. I'd love to be on with Cameron sometime. I've never met him.
Oh, I'm sure we can arrange that. He's coming on Friday.
Oh, okay. I would love to join you if that's possible.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Pop in.
Yeah, please let me know when that starts. Is that in the morning?
Same time as today.
Okay, terrific. Well, thank you for having me, and it's always a pleasure talking with you and Tom. Great conversation, great points.
Good to see you, Tom.
All right, good to see you, Culture. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah.
Take care, guys.
Take care.
Yeah. You guys were having fun.
Always a blast, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I mean, just a couple of thoughts I had on the Disney thing. None of us here were surprised by any of this, anything that's coming out of Chapek. With Munchia leaving and with the previous lady leaving her position, I don't expect any dramatic changes at Lucasfilm, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, I don't expect any dramatic changes either.
Yeah,
but I do expect that there's something big is going to happen at Disney at some point, because you have like all of the hallmarks of like this is some level of quiet before the storm, especially like with this investor message, because what he did. And I'm sure that Cameron is going to take a deep dive into this on Friday. But he basically told all the investors, shit's getting real now.
Yep.
We did miss 2 super chats in between there, it looks like. Sean Carter, thank you so much for the $10, says, perfect point with the B lineup. Marvel now is like watching your favorite team after clinched the title a month ago. The games are boring. The players are nobodies. And loss doesn't matter. Yeah, I know exactly what you're getting at. Yeah, it's kind of true, and that's what I mean. Is like you're not going to get the normies fired up for this stuff. They're not going to come a running for Winter Soldier and Falcon. They don't give a shit about WandaVision.
Well, and neither do the critics. WandaVision didn't win one award, kids. I mean, Go ahead.
Didn't it get like some like what we in Norway call trøstepremie, like a award just for showing up or something?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, but
didn't it get like something for like Agatha all along, or like something like that?
They look. Disney won no major awards in the Emmys the other day. Not one. I went down the list of any of the major categories during the primetime broadcast. There was nothing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. No, I thought they got like some music hand me down or something.
I'll double check. It's quite possible
for Agatha all along. I think that they got like some symbolic thing for that.
Yeah, like you said, there were no major acting awards given out to anybody Disney in that. But I'll run through them real quick because I don't want to be terribly wrong. So yeah, you had let's see. Man, it's not going to let me do it. It wants me to look at them award by award. That's not going to work. I'll go through it, but yeah, I mean, it was pretty ridiculous in that, I was expecting a lot more considering there were 25 total nominations, I think, just for that show, just for WandaVision, I think.
If you're nominated for 25 things and you get none,
yeah,
that's pretty bad.
Yeah, Ted Lasso was a major winner. The Crown was a major winner. Yeah, I'm scrolling through the major awards right now. Mayor of Easttown was a major winner. Hamilton. Okay, Hamilton was a winner on Variety Special pre-recorded. So, but I think did that air on Warner Brothers or did it air on Disney?
I have literally no clue, but I know that if that hadn't won something, then the embassy would have been burned down, hadn't they?
Yeah, and I just went through the major awards and I didn't see anything for WandaVision.
Okay.
Yeah, so and
No,
of
because
course
I know it was nothing major, but I thought it was like that there was like something for Agatha, just for the song, for like Agatha all along. That got something. I think.
Yeah, it's possible. I don't.
I'm gonna do a quick double check on that while Tom goes through the super chats here.
Yeah.
Well, as far as the classics go, the only one we had left, I believe, was Mexican Iron Man. It says listening while driving to clients. Sorry, couldn't join today with great Tom Konkle. Question: can we look forward to a renaissance resurgence in independent quality or genre filmmaking? Damn it! I wished I had saw that.
Yeah, but we can ask him this on Friday, because with chances are he'll be back on Friday when Covenant is on.
Oh, really? So you must have talked to him and I didn't.
So yeah, we might be lucky then. And I got it right here, by the way. WandaVision's Agatha All Along wins an Emmy. And then it says here, and this is from GameSpot, published September 13th.
Yeah.
Can that be right? In total, WandaVision has won 3 Emmys so far. It says here, WandaVision won 3 Creative Arts Emmys for Outstanding Original Music and Lyrics, Agatha All Along. I knew this, here it was. And Outstanding Fantasy and Sci-Fi Costumes, filmed before a live studio audience, and outstanding production design for a narrative program. So basically, these are the trøstepremier, to use a Norwegian term, like the purely technical, you did so well that we have to give you something, even though you didn't deserve anything actually good.
Right. Yeah, the creative that was the Creative Arts Emmys, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, so that's a different thing then.
Yeah,
okay.
Because that would have been
because let's see. 3 Creative Arts Emmys. Yeah. Okay, so that's something different then.
Yeah. Well, no, it's there's still the Emmys, but those aren't prime time. Those are not major awards. Those are tucked away.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Those are like this isn't like the real stuff.
Yeah. It was that would have been those announcements, I think, finally, or they started to get published, I think, all the way back at September 12th. Emmys were the 19th. So
yeah, exactly. That's what but I thought there was something there. So
no, you were right. Yeah, I just like I said, I mean, I went through the list of the major ones, and I was like,
of the real Emmys.
Yeah, it was weird, and it's unusual because I was thinking, they have, you have Hulu, you have the Marvel stuff, you have all that stuff that's airing in prime time, right? The Mandalorian, nada. No, I was like, okay, it was a real weird place. So yeah, I don't know. And again, was that an intentional industry snub because Disney is trying to change the game? It would kind of look that way, right? But at least, to someone who is paying attention to the business side of things. From a creative side of things, maybe not. Maybe everybody just loves The Crown that much. Don't know.
Well, it's certainly within the realm of possibility that it's a snub. Because who knows? I mean, it's gotten so heavily politicized. And on that note, Tsukiyomi99 says, do you think a complete liquidation of the Hollywood system will reinvigorate imaginative storytelling again? Now, what do you mean by that? Complete liquidation? You mean like sell off everything in Hollywood? To who? Because then it would be the new owners that would presumably continue doing stuff. And if it's like Apple or Google or something taking it over, I wouldn't expect anything new. Or if you mean like they all fire sale and go out of business, in that case, maybe. But
we need an old Hollywood shakeup again like we had in the 60s. And I don't think that's possible. Because that was when Hollywood was still kind of this...
Well,
what you had, the short version is you had all the moguls dying out and selling out, right? And they sold out to people like Seagram's and Gulf and Western, Coca-Cola eventually, and shit like that. And as I always say, these guys didn't know how to make movies. So like, we don't know how to make movies. We know how to sell shit, but we don't know how to make movies.
Yeah.
So here, kid, come here. You made this really cool short film. What's your name? Francis. Go make us a movie. Brian De Palma, you go make us a movie.
Yeah.
George Lucas.
It's
Go make
funny
us a
how
movie.
when you
Spielberg.
have people that are aware what they don't know and hire people who presumably know what they're doing, you actually get good stuff.
Yeah. So then out of that, we've got that new revolution, and they're like, well, we don't know what the fuck this is, but we'll just sell it. And that's how we got Star Wars and Jaws and all that stuff.
And I think it's possible. See, look, if you look at it, if the government doesn't like competition in, controlling it, to their power, maybe they will, move forward and start to break up some of these mega corps, right? Because that's how you get, that's how you get those new opportunities, those new things. People trying to distinguish themselves is when you're broken down into smaller bits. So
yeah, and Tom, you have to say the name here.
Rod Thunderheart.
And he says, "Hail Andre, hail Tom and Culture Casino. Feels more like One Division. Got the participants awards." Yeah, exactly. And that's what Cardinal Sin says too. Those are the technical Emmys. Hail panel and chat. Yeah, I knew there was something with Emmys. Yeah. So yeah, it just wasn't a real one. And also welcome Cardinal Sin as a new member.
Hail to you.
Yeah, indeed.
I had a great hangout with him last Friday where we did a show where we got a little bit out there, a little bit more into the.
Speaking of hangout, as soon as my voice is fully recovered, there's going to be so much Norse mythology and behind the scenes and all of that. I just haven't been able to record. So yeah. Oh, and of course, regular scripted video coming too, and loads of it.
Cool.
Just going to see if there were any other super chats here that we missed, because I have to take my leave here real soon.
We're probably going to wrap her up here soon anyhow, but yeah.
I'm going to just send you the up-to-date list here. Yeah, we got that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to send you the up-to-date lists here so that you can double check and make sure we didn't miss anything.
Just waiting.
And I'm still waiting too for the YouTube studio to update. It's been like acting up the last.
Well, while you're waiting for that, Johnny Depp did speak out on cancel culture. By the way,
really? Did he? That should be a real.
Oh
wow!
Yeah, enlighten us.
No one is safe. Not one of you, he says.
This is true.
That's true.
Let's see here.
Let me tell you, last couple of days, that's how I felt. Let me tell you.
No kidding. Well, hopefully you're feeling better, man.
Yeah, I'm getting there. Yeah, I'm much better now. So
what happened?
Just got sick.
Okay. Yeah. You and me both.
Yep.
Yeah. And we got everything since the last screenshot I sent you, Tom. So awesome. If you got everything before, we got everything since.
Yeah. So Mr. Pirate Guy says, no one is safe. Stand up for people facing injustice. It can be seen as an event in history that lasted for however long it lasted. This cancel culture, this instant rush to judgment based on what essentially amounts to polluted air, Depp said.
Wow.
It's far out of hand now. What I can promise you is that no one is safe. Not one of you.
Wow.
Not one out that door. Not one is safe. Depp continued, it takes one sentence and there's no more ground. The carpet has been pulled. It's not just me that this has happened to. It's happened to a lot of people. This type of thing has happened to women, children, men. Children have suffered from various types of unpleasantries. Sadly, at a certain point, they begin to think that it's normal or that it's them when it's not. The actor concluded, it doesn't matter if a judgment per se has taken some artistic license. When there's an injustice, whether it's against you or someone you love or someone you believe in, stand up, don't sit down, because they need you. That's about all he had to say really there. At least
and I think that pretty much speaks for itself before we round out.
Yeah.
There is another thing. Chapek struck back again.
Did he?
Oh, yes. And in the Chapek's usual style, he didn't strike back as himself, but through the medium of others.
Every
time. Check the private chat. And this goes back to what Cameron said the last time that he was here, that the directors of Infinity War and Endgame and Civil War and the Winter Soldier, basically all of the best movies that the MCU has, look what they just said. This comes to us through Bounding into Comics. Avengers Endgame directors appear to imply MCU is a clown show after Loki changes to Infinity Stones. Yeah, I harken back to what both myself and everyone else said in the after the first episode of Loki, that if this is true, there's no free will. This is their TikTok.
Oh my goodness.
How fucking brutal is that?
Ouch.
That is
okay. There's a lot of people who called me hyperbolic and full of shit for saying there was a bit of a cold or civil war going on over at Disney. I'll take those apologies in cash.
Yeah. Well, I think
that won't
our next
happen.
video right here. My God, that was.
Yeah.
Well, as you saw earlier, you have the guy from Endeavor speaking out. So right there, we know who's playing sides with the CAA business. You have this now. So there's more going into this every day, it seems like. I don't know how well this
quiet before the storm is going to be.
I don't know how well this Infinity business is going to play into things, but we'll see.
I mean, that's a direct attack on Feige. I mean, saying that the MCU is a clown show now, that's a direct, overt attack on Kevin Feige by the directors that have made how many billion-dollar movies now for the MCU? With 3, including the biggest movie of all time.
Yeah, and Jason, I know I'll be waiting regardless. Most of my critics think they're winning no matter what.
But with that, gentlemen, I have to be off here. But you feel free on discussing the game of like 3 and 4 and 5D chess that's being played here, because obviously Chapek isn't beaten yet.
I don't know how much more we can say about it that we haven't already until we get Cameron in here. But
I'm sorry, I have to go, but I'm fine. But I have the kids here.
All right, no problem.
All right, so take care.
Good to see you, Andre. Thank you. So, I don't know. I think it's 4D chess. I think it's been 4D chess for a while. I think it's interesting that the Russos didn't go after Chapek, much like people thought they were originally. Because think back a couple of weeks ago when they said they didn't think they'd be making another Marvel thing. This may be the reason why they're not making another Marvel thing, is because
I think we all kind of assume that, but that's
kind of so this flips the script on that thinking. And then at the same time, I mean, there's a lot of really weird business going on in Disney for sure. And I think Andre alluded to it, the softening of the ground in advance of the next quarterly. That's something that people should be prepared to pay attention to. I mean, I've been looking at it for a while, and it's one of the reasons why in the 6-minute daily today, one of the stories that I ran was on the slowing subscriber growth and the reasons behind it. I mean, it's going to be weird.
Well, and I can't remember who brought it up in the chat. It was in a super chat, and I thank them again for it. But they were talking about how, or at least they were pointing out that I pointed out, like they don't have anything there. They don't have a Stranger Things or something to really pull anybody in. And if Mandalorian was it, then that's all they got.
Well, they slayed it. No, no matter what. The Mandalorian was character assassinated by the toxicity that's around Lucasfilm, right? And I think Stephanie brought into question whether or not the fluffy guy still works there or whatever his name is. I always forget, but there's certain parties that may not be attached to Star Wars the way they used to be, but I don't know that is even going to help. Again, they replaced a media PR person at Lucasfilm today with someone who's on their way out after 25 years.
Yeah, you brought that up.
And then this new person, Konkle, has been inside of Disney, a Disney exec for a bit. So I don't know that it's going to be any difference. And I don't know whose call that was. again, if that was KK's call, then you're going to get more of the same. They really need somebody that manages their social media better. They need that for everything in Disney social media. Right now, they're essentially like knocking off a whole lot of audience. And it's the long-term gains from that, there will be none. In fact, they're going to have long-term losses by removing people with, kids that are going to consume your product, and maybe every, once in a lifetime, twice in a lifetime, they might go to a Disney park as that once in a lifetime adventure, but they're not going to try to get there more often than that. I mean, Universal right now, hand over fist, Comcast's a mover and a shaker right now. And if their earnings before depreciation, interest, tax, and amortization actually ends up being $34 billion for the year, it's going to be one of the best years they've ever had. And it's going to be largely on the backs of the growth in all elements and the way that they're managing every single division or segment of their business. So we'll see. Anyway, that's the business thoughts behind it. At least that's what I have right now. So, I don't really think that Tom wants my color hair. I think he probably.
I can recolor it.
Oh, okay, that's true.
Yeah, no, I think that's the bigger point and problem here, though. And here's the thing that bothers me, and this is the same thing I said about HBO Max and all these other places. Like, okay, if you're Warner Brothers, you're Disney, you've got these big fucking franchises under your belt. Why don't we have a Darth Vader series? Why don't we have a young Luke series or a Yoda series or whoever series? You have all these major characters, fucking mine the shit out of them. Why don't we have a Batman series right now? Like shit like that.
Yeah. Warner has those opportunities, and I think Zaslav will realize them. But Disney needs this stuff. They need something to land. They need something to hit. You look at how many things that don't hit on Netflix for everyone that does, right? Netflix is all about churning out the things until they get a hit, and then they try to leave that up for a little longer than normal. But they're not in the habit of giving a long run to anything. So, like I said, I mean, if you're looking for your Game of Thrones, go back in time, reboot young Indiana Jones, find an actual young Indiana Jones and be willing to tell those stories. You have a lot of compelling characters, you just aren't using them. I mean,
well, and I think that goes to the point is that Disney kind of fucked up. They thought, oh, we're going to be the biggest and the baddest because we've got all our classics and all that kind of shit. And I don't think they realize is they just pulled the rug underneath from all their classics.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, you've had kids who've now had them, had access to them for almost 20 years. Mm-hmm. So you've ruined the vault value of them.
Right.
And if you put up Disney Plus, now it's all the shit that people have all seen already.
Yep.
So who gives a shit?
No, and that's the other problem that they're running into is especially with the day and date release structure, which I think Chapek said, this is why we're not doing it anymore, is because it does ruin all those other opportunities down the line. I'm sorry. I think it's telling that they're going to run Shang-Chi on Disney Plus Day here in the next few days. Right.
Oh yeah. We didn't talk about that. If you want to run down real quick before we finish up here.
I don't have a story pulled up on it, but
but I know they're doing
Disney
Shang-Chi's dropping, Jungle Cruise is dropping.
Yep.
A couple of short films are dropping, a few classic shorts are dropping, and then the big news was a Boba Fett special, but I think people are misconceiving what it is. Now I'm not 100% sure on this, but people I think were thinking it was going to be like a prequel leader into the Boba Fett series, when I think it's actually just going to be like a mini documentary.
I think it's going to be a documentary too. But look, I'm looking at it like this is kind of we know our subscriber growth is stalled. We want to kind of highlight what the best and the brightest is that we have to offer. Not a lot of you saw this stuff in the theaters, those kinds of things. So they're going to try to use this to encourage growth in their subscriber numbers. Now, here's the thing. I mean, it's not like their growth totally stopped. They've opened up other markets. The problem is those other markets aren't as valuable in dollars, in ARPU. So that ARPU number is going to drop. In fact, Valiant Renegade will probably do a very good video on this, which is going to be something to behold. He and I agree on a lot of this stuff when it comes to what the future of these companies look like. And with HBO Max moving off of Amazon, as one of the channels you can subscribe to through them. They will have a subscriber dip, but they will recover pretty quickly because they offered a 50% discount essentially for those people to move. So their ARPU will go down for 6 months, but after 2 quarters, it will rise dramatically because that 20% that they have to give to Amazon will be gone. And that's what most people don't understand with the digital pass through and stuff like that. So that's why, again, I mean, they're in the position where they're launching their international markets, and they're growing that way. Disney did it all at once. If you think about how fast Disney grew and went international, it was great, but it's cost them in the long run. Anyway, that's some thoughts, but you just be looking forward to Disney Plus Day, which is
I'm not, and that's the point I was getting to. Is I don't think they have anything to really rein anybody in or bring anybody in.
I don't think so either.
They should have had. Oh, I forgot the other thing: the Home Alone remake.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Nobody.
Sweet Home Alone or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's interested in that, to be honest with you. Look, it's just like I've heard that the Turner and Hooch show is good, but it's not enough of a hook to bring me back. The movie was cute.
Yeah, same thing with the Mighty Ducks. Yeah, it was decent, but again, that's not something that's going to get people's butts in the seats.
No,
not everything is going to. I mean, they're trying the Cobra Kai thing, but it's like, look, not everything can be Cobra Kai, but what you can do is take those, those kind of ideals and apply them to a lot of these other franchises. Yeah. And Disney has the IP.
They do. They have lots of them. They have tons of them. I mean, here's what I don't understand. Why are we not getting a Rescuers series?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Exactly my point, Culture. You've got all these A-list IPs, and we're getting shit nobody asked for. Yeah. Willow is the only one I kind of understand.
Except that I don't think it has anything that anybody is going to appeal to a massive audience. Right.
Again, that's a good point. Willow is not something that's gonna
it's a great
droves.
It's
like the Dark Crystal level.
Yeah, it's a great film. Everybody loved it in their childhood. They may have shared it with their kids. Their kids may have shared it, but most likely not, because it's not something that's stuck in the cultural zeitgeist. Not like Princess Bride, which has stuck around forever. It's not Rocky Horror Picture Show. I mean, when you're gonna
give them ideas, because I think they might own the rights now to fucking Princess Bride. I'm not sure on that. There's some finagling going on with those rights. There's some shit going on.
I already know they're working on.
Fucking A, I heard something about that.
I'm not saying anything. Who's doing it? I know that's out there for a reboot. So
yeah,
but I don't know. Is that
they should just do the sequel I said? But anyhow,
well, they're out of people, right? I mean, it's hard when you lose people.
Well, you don't have to worry about that. Here's how you do it: you have Fred Savage being the dad, telling his daughter the story, and it's about the daughter of Buttercup and what's his face, the Dread Pirate Roberts. And she's a pirate now, and she don't want to quit being a pirate. And you just do the opposite thing. The guy's in love with her, and she don't really have any time for him, kind of like Buttercup did, the vice versa. You tell the kind of similar story, and you bring whoever's back who's still alive. You still got Billy Crystal and shit. It's like, sure, you don't have Andre the Giant, but hey, you can get around certain things.
Well, all I know is the only thing is, Carrie Yules went on record, I think, saying he wasn't really super excited about it. The idea,
maybe not enough drugs, Jesse. Maybe that's the problem.
A lot of people came out negatively against it.
I might be honest. I don't know half the time anymore.
What?
He's just fucking with me just to beat Jesse.
Anyway, like you said, I mean, that would be a terrible thing. But I know there's been several people from the film that have come out against the concept. So I don't think you could do it very well.
So anyway, I'm going to wrap things up here anyhow, because we've gone long enough, I think. No, you're fine. And we don't have Andre. And there really isn't much other news to talk about. I mean, Paramount combining with Showtime, we knew that was going to happen. There's a lot going on there, but I don't know enough about it to really get into it too much right now.
Oh, with the Sky thing?
There's a lot of stuff going down over there. I have no idea what.
Actually, the Comcast CEO talked about that rather fondly, saying those are the kinds of moves they're going to make as well. So, here's the thing, and I think you guys were talking about it, if not yesterday, day before. I think you're going to see streaming aggregators, right? Like the cable bundles. That's what you're going to see. There will be a company and I know there are companies already doing this, but there will be a company that will package all the streamers together for a price. They'll make a deal with them. They'll package them all together, and you'll buy your package and be done. And I think you were right when you were talking about the fact that with sports, when sports goes fully to streaming, linear television will slowly die. And there's that. And then we'll all be back on the cable train. Oh, you know what? You were talking about it with Razorfist yesterday, I believe. Yeah, I think that was part of that conversation. By the way, that was great to listen to while I was nodding in and out of consciousness. So,
well, hopefully you're feeling better.
Yeah, I feel a lot better. I'm not 100%, but I feel a lot better. I got too many shows to do today to not feel good.
No, that's all right. We're gonna wrap it up here.
Yeah,
I think we're gonna hit some koalas in the rain.
Yeah.
Let's see who's live. I can send you to raid somebody's
raid
here.
Oh, sorry.
Well, it looks like Chrissy's live right now, so you can go check out Chrissy. We'll share her link. Tell Chrissy we said hey if you go there. Otherwise, it looks like Az is playing some games.
Yeah.
So I'll post that link as well. You can go tell Az hello.
Yeah, and I have a Twitch stream in half an hour.
Okay, so in a half hour, head on over to Twitch to his stream, and you can share the link as well on that.
Yeah, I'm not worried.
I think.
Yeah, well, it's just Twitch
just
culture,
give it to me and I can put it in there.
It's Twitch culture, so it's fine. They'll find it, and then I'm off and running. Wednesday, Thursday are very busy days, and I love it. And I missed our time yesterday, Tom, but I was asleep. So
no, that's fine. We had the Razor Fist thing going on
awesome.
anyway, so
good.
It all seemed to work out in that sense. So I'm just glad you're still with us and feeling well enough to be here. So
I'm glad to be here. I'm slowly getting caught up on everything. So, but
good.
I appreciate everybody out there, you guys. Thanks for having me in today. It's always nice to hang out. And Tom Konkle is the best. So I'm looking forward to everybody talking on Friday because it sounds like it's going to be a humdinger of a panel.
There you go. And we may see you tomorrow on Meet as well. So until then, stay tuned and check out Culture's channel. Check out Tom's website.
Yeah.
And take care of yourselves and each other.
Koalas in the rain. Koalas in the rain. No fucks given. Koalas in the rain.